relation to, so there was a Supreme Court case, the Korematsu case in the 40s, that legalized the internment, was never overturned. Is there any way we can overturn that ruling or somehow have it legally invalidated?
It, for all rights and purposes, has been invalidated because, well, it's still on, it hasn't been overthrown, but a federal appellate court ruled that, and they used Latin to disguise it. The Latin word is coram nobis, which means finding fault in the original ruling. They found fault in the original Korematsu ruling, which justified the internment of Japanese Americans. They found fault in it because the government had reports. They had the Munson report and the Naval Intelligence report that said that the Japanese American community is not a threat to the United States. If anything, it is a very patriotic group. And because in 1944, they did not want to have the Roosevelt administration embarrassed, they suppressed that information. And it came out in the federal appellate court. And so that court ruled against the original the Supreme Court ruling, but they disguised it in Latin, coram nobis. And because it wasn't challenged after that, we who won at the appellate level didn't want to challenge it. You're right, it was wrong, So it takes somebody to challenge that and take it to the Supreme Court to get it changed on the Supreme Court level. But for all rights and purposes, the federal appellate court, one step below the Supreme Court, ruled against the original 1944 ruling. Coram nobis, finding fault in the original ruling.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming here and all your activism.
Thank you for the invitation.
We have time for just 2 more questions. So if you are in a line waiting, I know there's so many, maybe check with one another and see who you want to put forth first. We can communicate to each other, yeah? All right.
Elect someone, you mean? Vote and elect the speaker?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your activism, and something that hasn't really been talked about tonight specifically is in regards to LGBT community, because I'm a member of that community, and I've lived this incredible difference over the years, and it's still something we have to fight for. We're not there yet, but if there's anything that gives me hope for the future, that's part of it. So I was hoping if I could maybe hear a little bit more about your take on everything going on in regards to that, and just where you feel you've traveled, so to say.
Well, it's the same thing as the internment of Japanese Americans. After Pearl Harbor, all Japanese Americans, with one sweeping statement, were characterized as potential spies, saboteur, fifth columnists. And it was easy to incarcerate us because we looked different. We were at war with Germany and with Italy, but they looked like Italian Americans. Thank God they weren't incarcerated. But Italian Americans and German Americans looked like the rest of America. We looked different. With the LGBT issue, it's the same thing as characterizing Japanese Americans as potential XYZ, spies, saboteurs. But the difference with the LGBT community is we are not the other. We are literally members of the family. We're sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. And how they can characterize us as, and some families, because they put religion on a higher plane than the most natural thing, which is the love of a parent for their child. They kicked that child out. How unnatural is that? You know, when I was still closeted, I was closeted through most of my adult life. You know, I'd go to gay bars, and I heard about the raids that they staged on gay bars. And I said, that's exactly like when we were incarcerated. Here were gay people in a bar with friends, people that they were comfortable with, that they could relax. And yet, we were criminalized. We weren't hurting anybody, and yet the police could come and march you out and load you onto paddy wagons, take you down to the police station, fingerprint you, take a picture of you, put your name on a list. That was terrifying back, when I was young. I mean, they could have ruined our lives. In fact, some people who were, exposed like that, their lives were ruined. Some people ended their lives. It was the most unjust thing to criminalize people for being who they are and being with people that they were comfortable with. So I draw the same parallel as the incarceration of Japanese Americans. And so here we are with people that have that closed mind filled with animus, irrationally. And now today, the battleground is, of all places, the bathroom. I mean, it's ridiculous. I happened to be on a speaking engagement in Greensboro, North Carolina, on that very day that they passed HB2, the bathroom bill. And it was done in the most devious, most unconstitutional way. It was introduced at the end of the day in their legislature and crammed through in a matter of hours, no discussion, no public debate, and then rushed over, literally in the dark of the night, to the governor's office, and it was signed at night by the governor, requiring all transgender people to go to the bathroom according to their birth certificate, because they were protecting the delicate sensibilities of young girls. Do these people really think? I mean, what's going to happen when some transgender woman goes into the ladies' room? I mean, there's going to be screaming, yelling, or a transgender woman goes to the men's room. I mean, she's going to be bullied and abused and maybe done harm. So, these are politicians who have evil on their mind. They are not representative of any ideals at all. And these people, I mean, unfortunately, they live in a community where they can get elected. But the world is changing. And millennials are much more enlightened. And these old, creepy politicians.
Something about the bathroom, I'm not really sure where they're coming from. So
that's right. So and that'll come to an end very soon. And we have to exercise our franchise. Get your friends to register and vote. That's where it is. That's the strength in our democracy. It is a people's democracy, and it's a participatory democracy.